Hello and welcome to our third episode of Voices of the Valley. And I have someone I know dearly with me today, and her name is Lisa, and she was a client of mine. And I thought, this girl, she's so funny. I didn't know she was super smart. So I want to share a little bit more about her story today. And Lisa, give us your background. Let's see, you're a Stillwater native, right?
Yes.
And you went to Stonebridge, didn't you?
I did. It's
What?
my alma mater.
What is the secret sauce in Stonebridge? Because now you're like the fourth person that I know that went there, and you do big things. So what's that about?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's funny because right after you had TED, I saw that one go up, I think on Facebook, and I immediately reached out to him. I said, I had no idea you were also a Stillwater Stonebridge alumni. So it was a fun connection with our mayor. Special sauce. I don't even know where to start. It was like maybe Cube City. Have you heard about Cube City?
No. What's Cube City?
It was a fire hazard, so they took it down many years later. But there's a book called The Magic That Was Stillwater, or Stonebridge, and it's written by one of the principals, and I'm blanking on the name. But it had all, when it was started, I think late 60s, early 70s, it was based on principles that those that are in education know far better than I do, and especially elementary education, but really a open, independent learning type of format. So there was colonies instead of walls. So the motto is where we build bridges instead of walls. And it's still, I used to have a button. I wish I still had the button. Somebody just posted, there's a Facebook group called like Musical from Stonebridge or something like that.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of memories shared. But as far as special sauce, I think the biggest, most poignant thing that I remember is every day started with making your own schedule. You had goals you knew you had to complete because there was a lot of one-on-one interaction with teachers, but then you were free as early as Colony 1, which would be the equivalent of kindergarten and first grade combined, to write your own schedule. Ooh. And for me, that worked great.
Yeah.
Again, there was a lot of oversight, but also choice and making sure that you got done what you said you were going to do.
Yeah. And do you feel like even now that impacted you?
Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah. A lot of drive, a lot of, I think, motivation. Not to say I'm more motivated than others, but
I disagree.
I don't know.
I think you are.
And it's not right. It wasn't a great fit for every student. I will say one thing that is true about my siblings and I is we're all poor spellers because it taught an integrative teaching alphabet, or ITA.
Okay.
That has also since done away with. But there was just a lot of magic that was outside of a desk in a small classroom. Storybook Castle, Cube City to read in, just a lot of great spirit.
All the good things?
Yeah.
More of that than in this world. I think that would be good. Tell me about, so it's December, Christmas spirit is just like getting rolling, and it's very exciting. What are some of your either warm Christmas memories or traditions that you think of when it comes to Stillwater, and even your family?
Having grown up in Stillwater and as a member of Ascension Episcopal Church, which I am still a member of and bring my children there and my husband, one of the greatest memories I have is on Christmas Eve service. So we didn't go to the earlier service, which is for families. We went to I think it was like 10, it felt like midnight, 9, 10 o'clock, where it's candlelit. So really old church. In fact, Ascension Episcopal Church is the oldest Episcopal congregation in Minnesota.
Oh,
actually, it started in Fort Snelling and moved out to Stillwater.
Wow.
And
I didn't know
it's
that.
got beautiful, for those that haven't been there, it's got beautiful Tiffany windows inside. So that's a reason enough to come inside. But there's all sorts of other reasons too. But it was that Christmas Eve service that had candlelight at the end of each pew. Mind you, it's an old building with entire wood pews, so the candles aren't there anymore. But that same coziness is still present, and going there late at night and just feeling the Christmas vibe and singing Silent Night at the end.
I love that. What about for your kids? You have two girls.
I have two girls, yeah.
How old are they?
We have two girls, 6 years old.
Okay, go ahead.
Christmas cough.
twin 6-year-old girls. So they are like at the height of Christmas magic, right?
Yes.
Like all the things. I love that age. Okay, so
fun.
what do you do? And I kind of feel like you're going to make me feel sad about all the momming.
No,
I'm not done.
No.
But what do you do?
No guilt, no
No
judge.
guilt. All right.
I take other people's ideas off of Facebook and other internet.
Yeah, thank goodness
just
for
trying new
that.
things,
Yeah.
you know. In fact, I was just telling my husband I'm traveling for work later this week, and trying out a few new things this year. So, not forgetting about Alfie.
Yeah.
And
Got to keep an eye on the elf.
Advent calendar,
Okay.
which is filled with chocolate,
Yeah.
a little extra incentive, and they have to take turns on that. And then this year, a new addition, which I learned from another Stillwater resident and mom, Erin McQuay.
Erin McQuay, girl, she has the best family
does.
ideas.
She has awesome ideas.
Yeah, she does fun stuff with her kids that make me feel
Absolutely.
like, oh, that sounds like I want to be her kid.
Exactly. Want to be her kid, but
Yeah.
she's the last person that would ever judge if we're
Yes,
not that momming,
yes.
momming hard, as she says. But anyway, instead of just thinking about watching over the kids to make sure that they're doing good things or behaving well up to Christmas, instead thinking about what can they be doing actively. So there's I have a string of mittens. In each day between the 1st and 25th, there's an idea of kindness that they can give to each other or
that.
community.
I love that.
We'll see how it goes.
It's
See
all
how
right.
much
You
we
plant
can keep
the
up with
seed.
it.
You plant the seed, you get it started. I like that tradition. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Did your mom or dad, did they kind of get that instilled in you? Like the idea of kindness, and not just with that, but really in how you live your life, who was super influential for you?
Certainly my parents, but I'll also say my siblings.
Okay.
I'm the youngest of 3, and my siblings, not all the time, for sure, not all
Yeah.
the time, but they were kind to me. They were really good to me.
Oh.
I think they kind of spoiled me, but I wouldn't tell them that.
No, we don't ever admit. I'm the youngest. Teddy was the. This is weird.
I know. I thought about that as I watched.
Brad's the youngest.
Yes. So it made sense that then you invited me because we're all
it's
love
not
the
going to be a
youngest.
prerequisite.
Right.
If you want to be on the show, you have to be the youngest. Okay. So your siblings took good care of you. What about your parents? What were they like?
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think they instilled in all of us that hard work, dedication, do what you say what you do, commit to something and follow through with it. And they're kind people.
Yeah,
I don't know what else to say. They're just kind.
They're kind. Tell me, your mom's story is kind of neat. Tell me, what's her name? And tell me a little bit about what she started here that's still going.
Yes. So my mom's name is Lynn Shafer, and it used to be, now they've since moved to Woodbury to be closer to my sister's family, but they were Stillwater natives. They both grew up in Duluth and then moved here right, I want to say, about 1971, 72.
Okay.
So they're not as long timers as others. But I remember as growing up, my mom was known as the redhead, Lynn Shafer. She was really active in the community, really active in Chamber of Commerce, Sunrise Rotary. Just really proud of her as a community person. She got some awards at some points throughout her career. But she started Warm World Daycare Center with Mary Oswald. And
Warm World.
Warm World.
Warm
I might
World.
have said it as worm, like in the ground, but warm world.
Warm as
Yeah.
in like toasty warm.
Yeah.
Okay.
In that daycare center, I just learned recently, what did she tell me? It was like number 2 or 3 in the state to provide infant care.
Wow.
Out here in Stillwater.
Wow. That's super cool.
That would have been around mid-1970s.
Okay.
So if you think about what that did for women,
Yeah.
that were,
big deal.
and men maybe, but far fewer men probably at that stage, staying home with infants.
Yeah.
We're now locally able to bring infants and up through, I want to say it was, so I remember going there after school. There were definitely elementary age kids
Yeah.
there as well.
Yeah. So that started in the 70s. Mm-hmm. Fast forward to today, it still exists.
It still exists, and I believe Mary Oswald still runs it. It's currently in Boutwell. It used to
Wow.
be where the new newish post office is.
Yeah.
And also in the basement of Trinity Lutheran Church and Ascension Episcopal Church. So it made really great use of community resources, churches that are occupied during the week, right?
And what a long-standing business. That's really rare too.
Yeah.
And to have the same operator.
Yes.
Till now.
Amazing, right?
Very cool. Very cool. We're going to talk in the second half of our interview. We're going to talk about just how smart you are and some of the things you're working on that they blow my mind. But I'm curious more of what got you interested. I know you are, and I'm going to say it wrong, but it's like the Smarty Pants Hall of Fame in Stillwater. It's like for distinguished. What's the real name of the award you got?
I think it's Distinguished Alumni.
Distinguished Alumni.
It was nominated by a family friend. I was humbled. It was very kind.
It is an honor. It does say that you've done something beyond maybe what the typical graduating student has. But what is it, like when in life did you have this defining moment that put you on the trajectory to where you are now?
There was a couple. So one was an assignment by, I think I was in 10th grade, and maybe Mrs. Peach, it might have been my biology teacher.
Was her real name Peach?
I think so. She was towards retirement, so somebody watching may remember this better than I did, but it was when Stillwater High School outgrew its location, so we were going to, for 10th grade, we were going to Anderson, or another elementary school that was turned into a makeshift half-day place. So it was in the basement in 10th grade at the Anderson Elementary School, I think.
Okay.
Oh, no, that one's in Bayport. Anyway, up on the North Hill. And she gave the assignment of write a report on something that interests you in biology.
Okay.
Just write a report on something that interests you.
World's your oyster in this answer. Okay.
Yes. And I wrote about wanting to know more about dreams.
Oh.
And my parents took that as, we should help her find somebody that knows something about dreams to pursue this as a potential career. They didn't know what to do with it, but I met with a neurologist. And I don't remember.
Did they set this up?
They set this up. They set up
they went
informational
from dreams
interviews.
To it makes sense.
Right?
But that's,
who else are you going to learn about? Who knows what dreams are?
Yeah.
My parents are not in research themselves, but it felt like it was important to, at a pretty early age, plug us into things that were associated with our interests, which I'm very grateful for. So I remember going into, I want to say it was now Regions, but meeting with a neurologist, and he told me we don't really know much about dreams. Fast forward to then sitting in a neuroscience class as an undergrad at the University of Minnesota.
Okay.
Went to Madison and then transferred back here to the University of Minnesota, homesick. And I got a job at 3M, but mostly homesick. Yeah. I love Stillwater. And sitting in that neuroscience class, learned about the first person that was implanted with a deep brain stimulator for Parkinson's. Oh. And it was there that I decided I wanted to be a neuroscientist, which, built on this idea of trying to understand the brain, trying to understand why we dream. Why is it important? It must be important because we get so much time to it.
Wow. Yeah.
As you always said during our coaching, 7 to 8 hours at least of sleep. So that's turned into a love and a passion career for neuroscience.
Wow. Just by someone asking you to write an interest, which was dreams.
With no boundaries.
No boundaries. And dreams really could have gone into any direction. Were you really in high school, like into science? Were you really academic?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
I mean, a neuroscientist.
Never had an AP class. In fact, I think I tried to do what was the equivalent to an AP class now. No.
Okay. Tune into that, really. Parents, it doesn't necessarily matter your high school performance, but they found an area where you had passion and they're like, here. That's pretty amazing. So you weren't like a straight A student, or were you?
Let's see, in high school, thanks to Steve Studer in junior high, you've heard his name before. I think Ted brought him up. He was just had a profound impact on me in junior high, where I was squirrely and gotten a little trouble, a little naughty. And by high school, I think I had kind of figured out that, that I really needed to focus and get, I had a lot of fun in high school.
Yeah.
And I still did well also.
In classes.
Yeah.
What was naughty to you in junior high? Were you like sneaking away to swim in the river, or what sort of shenanigans? Yes? Okay, so that's a common...
I remember specific track practice where we went across the river and all went swimming. Not all of us. And we all had to sit out of the next track meet. Yeah.
What did you run in track?
Nothing well.
You were a participant.
Whatever I could get in.
You like to be part of the team,
exactly.
top to bottom.
Yep. Any sport I did, just lucky to be there.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, so we know what piqued your interest. What was something that you felt like it was really hard? It was really hard, but because you went through it, it kind of made you a better person, or really changed the direction you were headed?
Really hard. So, two things. The first time I failed an exam was in college.
Okay.
I got super nervous before a Spanish test. I mean, not a big deal, and failed that. So
Spanish.
I remember my dad saying, "Great, great. You got that out of the way. You failed. Awesome." It's not that everything came easy to me before that, but high school was relatively easy. Maybe I didn't apply myself enough. I don't know. And then the second big fail, was in grad school. I think, and I can't believe I'm saying this on camera because I don't admit this other than maybe once or twice. I failed my exams twice, and I think that I'm the only, my prelim exams in grad school, which is a requirement to go on to your PhD. So 2 years in, if you failed and decide not to try to continue, you can leave with your master's in this particular program. I really wanted to go for my PhD. Prelims are basically everything they can ask you, anything you learned in the prior 2 years of your coursework, or anything you learned related to science leading up to that point. And both times I got up there and I just blocked. Like, I couldn't come up with any responses. I was super afraid of speaking in front of an audience. Super afraid.
Super afraid.
Like, to the point where I couldn't even answer a question, even if I knew it. The words wouldn't come out.
That was
and
what
that happened
the
twice.
exam was? You had to answer questions in front of people?
Yep, in front of a committee. There was a written portion too, which I did well. But yeah, in front of a committee that could ask you anything about any coursework from the prior 2 years.
So how did you handle that?
I
mean, in the moment, you literally are saying nothing. You've got nothing.
I've got nothing.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Yes.
Yeah, so your heart's probably pounding.
I remember like going up to the drawing board and to the chalkboard and trying to, chalk out an answer. Because my second time, I was, okay, if you can't speak, get up there and write something. Draw the picture of a cross-section of a spleen.
Jeez.
And nothing came to me.
Wow.
And I was shaking, but now I don't mind public speaking so much. I don't know.
So then third time was the charm?
Third time was the charm. And I think my committee knew that this was just a stage fright kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I had to prove it to them. They weren't going to let me pass despite that.
At any one point are you like, it's not for me, I'm done?
For sure. My parents, bless their heart, came down ready to move me out because I was sure that I was not going to stay after the second time. And I remember we went for the weekend over to Galena. I was in grad school outside of Chicago. And just having a weekend with my parents to sort of recenter on my goal made me try a third time.
Jeez, stick at it, right? I want to talk about how you recenter, but once you completed that third time, so then is your path, it was neuroscience, or that continued to be the specialty?
Yeah.
Okay. So when things are rough and you're in the deep dark, that's what we call it in our family, where it's just like you can't see your way out.
Yeah, sat in bed.
Woo. I need to see Jesus in the woods. That's what I tell my family. That's where I find myself revived.
Awesome.
It's because we're northern. Well, you have
Northerners,
northern
yeah.
roots. I need to go north.
Absolutely.
Where do you recenter? Where do you find that place where you're recharged?
Exactly, in the woods. I remember in grad school declaring that I could get through anything if I had a weekend of hunting with my family, deer hunting usually, a weekend or hopefully an extended weekend in the Boundary Waters, and some time on a ski trail, cross-country ski trail. Those three things, if I could do those three things every year, can get through anything. I just, that cycle of each of those has a seasonality for it.
Yeah. Mom, neuroscientist, and hunter. When did you start hunting? I kind of knew this,
Oh,
but just let's bop in there for a hot second.
I have, I don't know, ever since I can remember, I think early on each kid had a wooden gun that we walked in the woods with.
And why? Why did you?
Before you were old enough to have gun safety.
So you were starting to train,
Yep.
right? How you do it.
Yes.
I love this. Okay.
Yep. And deer hunting, I think I mostly got into that sometime late junior high school.
Okay.
And I've been going, I think, every year since on deer opener, whether even, I missed the year because my children were born October 20th. So I missed that next, deer opener was a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
So I think I did not go for that. I'm sure I didn't go that year. I think, said Tony, maybe my husband still did. I hope he did. But every other year since then, and it's just a great family tradition. Love, even if I don't see a thing, which I actually don't care if I don't see a thing, I just like to be in the deer stand at sunrise and ideally at sunset as well. Just
so cool.
Seeing that cycle through the woods, seeing the sun go through. It's awesome.
It's everything. I want to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to dig a little deeper into what you're studying now.
Okay.
We're going to get an update from the Chamber of Commerce. Stacy's going to tell us what's coming up. We have lots going on in Stillwater this winter, and it's very exciting, so we'll chat with her, and I'll be right back with Lisa.
Fun is the name of the game at the Lumberjack. Throw some axes, enjoy Union Alley, sit back, relax, take in the excellent food and drinks. The next time you are out and about in beautiful downtown Stillwater, visit Sarah and the great staff for a fun night out. Visit the Lumberjack off Commercial Street in downtown Stillwater today for a glass full of fun.
Cheers.
All right, we're back with Stacy. Yay! Another community update. What's going on in Stillwater?
Oh my gosh, what's not going on in Stillwater? We have so much going on. Wintertime in Stillwater is already going crazy. We have Hometown for the Holidays going on. That's going to celebrate all things holidays in downtown Stillwater. So the weekend of December 10th is our
What is it that there were carolers this weekend? The bridge was lit. Chestnut Plaza was lit.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing.
Yes.
Yes, and we have our gingerbread contest coming up on the weekend of December 10th.
Okay.
So we've got it open to the public, and we're going to have lots of people there building houses. And we're going to have Buddy the Elf there. He's going to take some fun selfies. Yeah, he's going to make it fun. So that's going to be a good time.
Throughout town, or where do we find Buddy?
At the Water Street Inn from 10 to 2 on December 11th.
Okay.
And that is our Candy Town weekend. That's what I was trying to think of. Candy Town weekend that weekend. So that's going to be a fun thing.
Do people build their houses then, or they bring them there?
They build them and bring them there, and you can come and just check them all out, and they'll be voting and lots of good stuff happening with that.
Very cool.
We'll have the carolers around town that weekend. Also, we'll have horse-drawn carriage rides happening that weekend too.
Oh, fun.
So lots of good stuff. And then the weekend of December 18th is our Furry Friends weekend for Hometown.
Is this new, the Furry Friends?
It is a newer event,
Okay.
yep. So it's going to be all things pets, and we're going to have a fun pet parade on Saturday the 18th. and you can dress your pet up in costume. You can wear costume. The Grinch is going to be leading a parade from the Dock Cafe parking lot all the way down to the gazebo.
Cute. My dog shakes off anything I put on him. So I totally want to dress him up, and it would last like 2 seconds. Okay,
yes.
So the parade, then what's next?
So following all of that hustle and bustle of the holidays, then we go into January and we have the World Snow Sculpting Championship coming to Stillwater.
Huge
Big deal, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell me more about how many teams do you guys expect?
I think we're looking at 10 teams, some international, some U.S., so it's going to be a great mix. These are world-class sculptors, so it's like nothing that we've seen here really in the States before, so it's pretty awesome.
And a little tricksy because it's like the first Worlds, and then all of a sudden we have some new COVID restrictions.
We're still dealing with some of that,
So a little bit more maybe U.S. competitors to fill in for those who can't travel right now.
Yep.
We will get through this.
We will.
And people will travel international, and we'll get there.
Yes, no doubt you're going to see amazing sculptures. We've seen some photos of some of the past competitions, and it's amazing. You can't even believe that they actually can make these out of snow. So and the cool thing is you get to see it all come to life in Lowell Park. So from a block of snow, you can check it out and see how these amazing sculptures are formed.
And they just chip away. What's the first day on that?
I believe it's the Thursday of that week. And then they'll go through like Saturday. And we've got lots of fun events going on the whole week to celebrate. So there'll be lots of fun things happening.
An opening ceremony, some socials.
Yep, the world's coolest block party, which is going to be a really big deal. A Minnesota Day, which sounds really fun. So it's going to be a lot of good stuff happening.
Lots happening in Stillwater. So make sure that you get outside. We can do it. Just dress in layers and come and enjoy downtown Stillwater.
Fun is the name of the game at the Lumberjack. Throw some axes, enjoy Union Alley, sit back, relax, take in the excellent food and drinks. The next time you are out and about in beautiful downtown Stillwater, visit Sarah and the great staff for a fun night out. Visit the Lumberjack off Commercial Street in downtown Stillwater today for a glass full of fun.
Cheers.
All right, welcome back, part 2 with Lisa, and we are going to learn a little bit more about her career. And always, for me, my first job, I was a sandwich artist at Subway.
Yes. Wow.
I know, right?
Smell of the bread.
Yeah, the smell of the bread. What was your first gig, your first job?
First job, I can't remember if it was Brian's, serving at Brian's, which was a favorite place growing up.
Yeah.
And then, just its history. I remember going there as a kid, getting meat in the bottom part, and then or the street level, and then second level was the restaurant. Third level was the bar. So
I did not know this.
Yes.
Okay. And then so this is in the 80s.
This would have been late 80s. Yep. Okay. And the second level had the huge painting of the American flag that was saved from the fire.
Oh.
So some Stillwater history there.
What fire?
Big
Brian's
fire.
Had a fire?
Yes, and a firefighter's life was lost. At least one. I think there was other injuries, but there's a firefighter lost. Yeah, several communities responded.
Wow.
So I believe you can find that with a quick Google search. Yeah, it was a pretty big deal for all of us that, there was Hooley's, which is now Water Street Inn. Okay. And then you'd go there to get some of your groceries, but then there was the bakery on the corner, which is now Leo's, and then Brian's.
Is this 90s? What?
70s, 80s.
Okay.
And there's, of course, people that know all the history way back, but that's
your history.
Yeah. A short timer here, relatively. So Brian's, and then Andiamo. And babysat a lot.
Were you a server on the Andiamo?
Yes, whatever. Server, bartender, everything. Super fun summer job. I mean, what's not to love about being on the river?
It's pure magic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
In fact, we would, I'd work, and then my friends would come get me at the dock with their pontoon, parents' pontoon, and we'd camp on the river, and then I'd go back to work and the next day. Not every weekend, but
Where would
quite
you
a few.
camp? Would you go
Right
north
across
or
from the boom?
Okay.
You didn't have to have a permit or anything. And
Nice.
late junior high into high school, we were out there a lot.
That sounds like a good time.
So fun.
Yes.
So fun. Yeah. And actually several of those friends, some of them we picked up in junior high, but the majority were from my Stonebridge days.
Yes.
And continue to be.
Oh my gosh,
best
that's
friends.
cool.
Yes.
Okay. So then you go off to college, and you mentioned you worked at 3M. Was that when you were in your graduate program?
That's when I came. So I, at the University of Wisconsin, I had a lab job. I worked in a Parkinson's research lab, which
Okay.
was fascinating because I didn't know anyone with Parkinson's then. Do now, of course. It's a pretty common neurodegenerative disease. But it was there that I learned that I wanted to do industry research, or basically be a business scientist versus an academic scientist.
What does that mean? Give me a
So
little.
I knew I wanted to go to grad school to be able to work in industry. 3M really cemented that for me. I was in 3M Pharmaceuticals Group, which is now spun off and been sold out, but to new businesses from that. But what I learned was that the opportunity to make a product with your research, to make a therapy, was super important to me. In academic science, most of the time, you're working on data or a question that will help and be used by industry scientists to turn into a therapy.
Okay.
But academic scientists are far more likely to publish.
Okay.
And it's those publications in that research that we use in industry to
Okay.
make therapies.
Okay. That helps. So I didn't fully understand that. So 3M was really critical in helping you decide. Where did you go from there? What was next?
From 3M, I went to grad school.
Okay.
And so as an undergrad, the people that I had the great fortune to work with there said, unless you want to, you can just have your bachelor's of science degree. That's great. These are some of the things you'll be doing with that. Or you can go on to get a graduate degree, and they really helped and shape that and you have more autonomy and more. It just occurred to me that feeling of autonomy was something that I think grew out of my days at Stonebridge, in that need and desire to continue to have independence with my learning.
Yeah.
So I went on to grad school.
Yeah.
And then from grad school, I knew I wanted to work at Medtronic.
Okay.
And was lucky enough to get a job there right as I graduated from my PhD program.
We kind of have we have giants in our backyard. Like the fact
Yes.
that you have a Medtronic that's
Yeah.
close enough, or you can go there, and because not everybody has that. Minnesota,
Oh my gosh, we're
especially
so
the
lucky.
Twin Cities, we're really lucky
Yes.
with that. How long were you at Medtronic then, and what did you mainly do there?
I was at Medtronic for 14 years, 13, 14 years, and by the time I left, I led global research for the division called Neuromodulation. So, meaning you can modulate the brain's activity through, remember when I said deep brain stimulation?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
electrodes in the brain or non-invasively around the brain. You can modulate brain activity, modulate the neuronal pulses with electrical therapy,
Yeah.
or chemical
Yeah.
medicine, drugs,
Yeah.
what we typically think of as pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
And what I loved about that is the medical device applied to healthcare, and versus like if you're on the East Coast or West Coast, what you typically learn is pharmaceuticals
Yeah.
applied to healthcare. We have here in the Twin Cities what's called Medical Alley, affectionately. If you think about the San Francisco Bay Area being
Yeah.
Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is to computers and
Yeah.
all the things that support technology.
Yeah.
We have that for medical device and healthcare technology here in the Twin Cities.
Really cool.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
you would create these products, or were you studying their effect on different diseases, and how did that? Tell me a little bit more. Okay.
So Medtronic had already commercialized deep brain stimulation.
Okay.
Now several other companies, also local, Abbott, Boston Scientific,
Wow.
it comes out of the core of cardiac pacing.
Wow.
So the Twin Cities is home to Earl Bakken, who is the founder of Medtronic. Bakken Museum, just put a plug in for that. It's way over on the other side of the city for those of us East Siders, but it's a really cool place. And out of cardiac pacing came neuromodulation, or brain pacing, basically.
Okay.
And then the area that I really fell in love with was the convergence of using that medical device technology. In this case, it was a implantable pump to deliver drugs directly to the brain. So converging device and pharmaceutical.
And the result for the person that was using that, who used it and how did it help them?
Now, so Parkinson's was, I think, the first neuromodulation therapy, an essential tremor.
Okay.
So these aren't things you'd try early in your disease course, right? It's as the disease progresses, you're likely more open to a more invasive, it's an implant.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because cardiac pacing, you wouldn't think of not sending someone for a cardiac pacemaker if they were there. But for brain modulation, it's still pretty early in its days. I mean, it's only been around for 30 years, I want to say.
Okay.
Pretty early in the grand scheme of things. But there's a variety of diseases treated with it. So refractory, or people that are not treated well by pharmaceuticals, for things like epilepsy, Parkinson's. There's more and more cognitive application to cognitive diseases, mental health. So some of those are not approved uses, but are under study.
So it's like creating some rays of hope where there wasn't in the past, and new pathways. So now you're working on something still within that field, but what are you doing now and who are you with now?
So I'm Chief Scientific Officer for a company called Cerebral Therapeutics, and we're a startup. I was employee number 3. And
was that scary? By the way, you went from Medtronic, which is huge and a lot of security, and you're like a big gun there, and then...
Yes, it was. I went in between Medtronic and the startup world. I went to large pharmaceutical companies. Through the course of about 6 years, I was at 2 different pharmaceutical companies, and then on my own for a year, trying to decide if I should start up a company. I did some consulting work. I just really believed in this convergence of pharmaceutical and medical device towards improving therapies for diseases in the brain. And it's really hard to do in either of those companies. This convergence doesn't happen easily. The industries are pretty separate. So throughout trying a lot of different ways that didn't work well, ended up deciding that the best place to do that was in a startup. And that's exactly what we're doing. We hire both engineers and scientists to work in a variety of other disciplines to build therapies that use implantable device technology to deliver drugs directly to the brain.
Wow.
And the reason why is because drugs don't cross the blood-brain barrier easily. Most drugs are prevented from reaching the place in the brain where they need to get to treat the disease of the brain.
So prior to this, you might take a drug, but it never does what it should do because it can't get there.
Or you have to take so much of it to get the little bit across the blood-brain barrier that you have a lot of peripheral side effects.
Yeah.
So like epilepsy is, that's our lead program right now, and it's refractory epilepsy. So like at least 1/3 of people that live with a seizure disorder do not respond well to drugs, to oral or IV medications. And so this is an opportunity to consider an implantable therapy that would, through an implanted catheter, bring it directly into your brain, which is where the seizures focuses are.
Wow.
The seizure starts.
Yeah. So what's your end goal? So it started with dreams.
Anything about the brain.
Cool. But I mean, yes, which all starts with, do you have, like, in my lifetime with my work, do you have an end goal?
Yes.
What's that?
I want to work on and ideally, have made or touched a therapy that really works for ALS. And I don't know why ALS, it just is the disease that's just always, I haven't had a family member with ALS, but I've seen a lot of people. I mean, all neurodegenerative diseases are awful.
Awful.
I'd like to solve Parkinson's, although there's a lot of good, decent therapies for Parkinson's. But ALS is the one that just really gets me, and I feel like I can't retire until I've worked on that and really contributed to it.
Wow, that's a big goal. But you're really like making progress. You have time.
My kids are only 6.
Yeah,
my husband likes what he does, so we'll just keep working.
It all works. So how do you pursue? Like that's a goal that will change the world. Like it is not just I have a goal to lose 5 pounds. It is a goal that well, yeah, who doesn't? But it will change the world, and thinking about that is pretty exciting. Thinking about someone in our community that's going to be currently playing a part, but could be that person. It's very exciting, and I have no doubt that that's in your future. I know you. I know how you're driven. I know how you're wired. I'm lucky to know you that well.
Likewise.
But, it's very exciting, and I even get a little bit choked up because the people that are affected by those diseases, it is heartbreaking and really difficult.
Sure is.
So you do these big things, and you're a wife and a mom. And I'm just curious if you could give us, this is like a nugget that I want you to give us some parting wisdom. How do you do that? How do you have this massive career as a chief medical advisor? Is that what it's called?
Chief Scientific Officer. Yeah.
Chief Scientific Officer. How do you balance that with being a mom and a wife, and you're really engaged in our community and our small businesses? How do you do it?
I have an awesome partner. And an awesome family that is very supportive. I'm really fortunate to have extended family live near me. I have a great group of friends, yourself included. But really, my husband he's just a great side-by-side backbone, whatever I need, he's just super supportive. And so while we didn't meet till later in life, like the current state is so well supported by him.
Yeah.
So we're able to do a lot.
Yeah, I love it. You guys you do very well.
Yeah, we're well partnered.
To the creative, independent, Stonebridge-like student.
Yes.
What's your advice to them who they might not fit the mold of the traditional student? What's your advice to them?
Wow, just keep going with your bad self. The Stonebridge really encouraged so much independence, and perhaps that's why I was single until I was 38.
Wow.
And so it is that fierce independence that maybe has guided me, and I would say guided me well.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, was fortunate to partner well too, but going after individually what you want to chase, and not letting someone tell you that because you were too independent or didn't have a desk in elementary school, and maybe that made you too squirrely in junior high. Use that as a force for good.
Yeah, I like that. So I love my time with you, Lisa, always, and I could sit and talk all day. But Lisa literally followed her dreams and has done a lot in this community, and I think we need to stay tuned to see what happens in the end. But I'm really happy to have you as a guest for Voices of the Valley, and can't wait to see you guys next time.